In today's CS2 update, Ancient got a pretty big visual overhaul as well as a nighttime version of the map with all of the same changes. There's also some bug fixes made to some of the animations that were changed in 2 weeks ago's update that we did not cover, and these are overall just to smooth out what it looks like. Now I want to talk about the Ancient changes a little bit more in depth, but we'll have to do that right after a quick word from SkinsMonkey.
Today's video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey. Now, if you're not familiar with SkinsMonkey, this is a trade site that allows you to take some of the old and crusty skins out of your inventory, and you can actually trade them in for something a little bit new, a little bit shinier than what you have right now. And it's really easy to do this, actually. All you need to do is log in through Steam, pick the skins that you don't want to use anymore, grab the ones that you do, and then click trade. All trades will pretty much happen immediately, and any balance that you don't use in your trade actually stays on the site for you to use for any future trades that you decide to do.
And right now, if you use the link in the description, you can actually get a 35% deposit bonus, and that's good for up to $100. So let's say you deposit $100, you would actually get $135 on the site
If you use my link, so make sure you check out SkinsMonkey, and let's hop right back into the video.
So we'll start by looking at the daytime version of Ancient, and one of the things that you might notice right away is that there are raindrops on my knife, and that's actually because it is now raining on Ancient in both versions, by the way, and a lot of the props have actually been changed to reflect that. There is a lot of reflections on the ground with these puddles. Also, a lot of the textures overall are just more wet and more green, and I do enjoy that. But apart from that, there has been some changes that were not addressed in the patch notes, such as this angle right here in Temple has been changed so that you can no longer see a main from right here, and I think that this is a good change overall because I thought that that angle was always pretty unfair. Now, I mentioned earlier that the models have been changed, and these light models in particular have been changed so you can now stand next to them, but more importantly, they have been slightly adjusted so that your shadow doesn't show in certain spots. For example, when you're coming out to Brokey here, it used to be that your shadow would show on the wall here, but that has been changed and will no longer happen. So again, if you don't remember, people would be playing from here and they could see your shadow when you were trying to drop out, but that no longer happens. And another thing that no longer happens is you will no longer make sound when you drop out here. They've raised the bricks here, so you don't have to crouch jump to get out of Brokey without making noise, and you can just walk out. Now, along with the first shadow change that we also have a second one in Cave here, because again, with this light model being changed, it no longer casts shadows on the right side, meaning that your shadow will no longer show on this side here, because again, it was meta for people to stand here and see if your shadow would show on the wall here, and if it did, they would know you're coming, but now that no longer happens, and this is overall a good change. I can't really find a single bad change in this part of the update apart from some of the lineups being different, and this starts with the Brawlin molly that people like to throw. This molly right here that lands in the entrance of Cave is now a lot harder to throw because the lineup that we had before is not there. There used to be a specific brick, but now all of them are wet and it's hard to see the difference between the bricks, so this is no longer going to be the lineup that we can use, and you're going to have to make a different one. And speaking of different lineups, the instant elbow smokes from this spawn and all of the spawns actually are all different because they've changed the U's on the wall that we used to line up with, and if you try to do it the same way that we did before, you'll see that these smokes no longer hit. So we're gonna have to find some new lineups, and it actually unfortunately makes my instant smoke video pretty useless for Ancient, but all the other lineups are still gonna be fine, so you can still watch that one if you want. Just keep in mind that Ancient no longer works. Now, another thing that was included in this update that was not in the patch notes is the removal of this wall bang in Cave right here. As you can see, if you spam through this wall, your bullets will no longer go through. And if you remember, Simple won a 1v1 recently where he spammed the last guy through this wall, but now that doesn't exist. And I'm not really 100% sure why, but I guess they just figured there was too many spams with this wall, and the pillar, and I'm not sure, but it is something that is worth remembering before you go into your next game. But in case you're wondering, yes, these changes also apply to the nighttime version of the map as well. And that's pretty exciting because the nighttime version has some interesting things to it that we really haven't seen before. Obviously, we do have a nighttime map already, that being Train, but we have already played the daytime version of Ancient, so making it nighttime is a little interesting because one of the things that changed is the lack of the sun. And I know that sounds silly, but we are used to seeing our shadow on the ground because of the sun, and this is something that can be very predictable. For example, on the daytime version, if we try to fight this angle towards Cave, your shadow will show on the ground, and you might be confused. Well, Austin, it is showing regardless. And that's because Valve has tried to substitute this with these spotlights. So you can see these spotlights across the map in various areas that give shadows. Most of these are going to be in the high traffic areas, like coming up the ramp here. This is something we already see, but the problem is that some of these are a little bit different, like the one in towards bottom mid here that gives a shadow for somebody pushing towards elbow. But I think the biggest difference is the one that's at big box here, because there is a spotlight up here that makes it so if anyone is standing at big box, your shadow will show on the right side. And this could be a big deal for somebody coming in a main and they could see somebody big boxing and go for a pre-fire. Now, I don't mind this one as much because we've had to deal with this one in a main if you want to come out. But again, it is just interesting that they're taking this approach. Maybe they like the shadows on these maps and maybe they're trying to find a way to make them in higher traffic areas that don't seem to have an issue. I'm not really sure, but overall, I don't mind the nighttime version of Ancient. I think it looks really cool, and I am very interested to see what Valve is going to do with this nighttime version. Are they going to replace it in the competitive map pool seasonally? Is it going to be something that activates once the game gets to overtime? Are they going to find a way to sneak this in and it's just like a chance that it's the nighttime version? I mean, all the lineups will be the same, so it shouldn't change that much. So I don't know. It is really interesting, and I'm glad to see them doing this, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really change much that the other version, the daytime version overhaul, doesn't. Let's talk about the animation changes now. So of course, one of the biggest things that got changed in this update was the butterfly knife, and it has returned pretty much to the way it was before the update. Of course, a lot of people, including JL, were very upset with the previous version of it, and this is to be expected. With the big update coming to all of the first-person animations a few weeks ago, there are going to be some pretty interesting bugs alongside of it. So a lot of these next updates that we're going to see are most likely going to be focused on smoothing these animations out and returning them to the way that they were before, or at least to be very similar to the way they were before. So yeah, this is exactly what I'm expecting to see. One of the other things that they did is they tried to smooth out what it looks like when you immediately inspect a gun when you pull it out. I think this is most noticeable on the op because, as you can see, he pulls it back whenever he inspects it, but now if I go to instant inspect it, he doesn't actually pull it all the way back. It's still a little weird and kind of twitchy or glitchy, if you will, but overall, this is just another quality of life improvement. This doesn't really need to be talked about too much. It's just bug fixes. Now, the last part of the patch notes has something that people have been looking for a while, which is this note right here. This is rendering performance improvements across most maps. Now, I won't lie, I haven't had the chance to really play since this update has come out because I've been making this video, but I will say that the people on Twitter and Reddit have been posting pretty positively about this, saying that it improved their 1% lows by a decent amount. So you can let me know what you guys think about this, if it's giving you more FPS or if it's not. I haven't really got to test it yet, but so far it doesn't look like it's taken any away, so that's a W. Then, of course, we have the cosmetic update, which I know people don't really care that much about, but we'll talk about it anyway. We saw a new limited time item be added. Now, this is the same skin that used to be on the limited time item in the previous one, but this time it is just on the M4 instead of the XM. So I already redeemed one. This is the one that I got. Battle Scarred sounds about right. And then last but not least, we also see the sticker sale for the Austin Major, which admittedly I thought would come way sooner, but if you ever wanted to pick up some of these stickers, now's your chance. You can get all of these capsules for 25 cents, and yeah, I mean, that's something that we always see at these kinds of updates. So let me know what you guys think about this. I know I didn't cover the last one, but that's because there was some pretty weird stuff happening in my life, and I just, you know what, it's fine. We move on to the next one. If you guys enjoyed this update breakdown, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, and I'll be posting some Ancient Night stuff as it comes up throughout the next couple of weeks. So yeah, that's it. Make sure you like the video, comment your favorite thing about the new update, or maybe your least favorite thing. I don't really care. Like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Much love, you guys.